Hi, Charlie Rhodes here from Beat Your PTSD, the blog I've created to help sufferers from PTSD. Today in this video blog I'm going to be highlighting a case study provided by an American professor, Dr William McDowell, that was conducted on a 30-year-old Iraq war veteran diagnosed by the US Veterans Administration as suffering from PTSD. It's a truly remarkable testimony of the efficiency and efficacy of the NLP technique. But before I do that, I'm just going to make a few reminders from earlier blog posts. PTSD, as you know, is a very real issue and affects the lives of nearly 15% of those returning from Iraq and Afghanistan. And 40% of those sadly remain untreated. They find it difficult to talk about mental health issues. Help for Heroes, if you look at their website, highlight the fact that it takes on average 3 years, 9 months and a few days for someone to seek help. And that's despite high-profile awareness campaigns which have done much to highlight this really real problem. But there's so much more that needs to be done and so much more that must be done. Now, for over 30 years in the US and more recently here, NLP has proved to be a very effective approach for treating PTSD. Thousands of clients have experienced complete symptom alleviation and long-term results. So I'm going to read out this report from Dr William McDowell. He's in fact a PhD Professor Emeritus and Chair of Counseling at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. And what he says is truly remarkable. He, the veteran, reported to the NLP therapist after 18 months of standard treatment from the Veterans Association, including individual and group psychotherapy, with no abatement of symptoms. At the time that he came to the NLP therapist, he was reporting the following symptoms: flashbacks, nightmares, high anxiety while driving, such as being unable to let others drive him, getting panicked by large trucks moving near his vehicle and often forcing him to pull off the road. He also reported a fear of crowds and enclosed spaces such as restaurants, classrooms, etc., where he had to be near an exit with a clear view of the entire space. He also reported some anger problems at home and an inability to have the doors unlocked. Although the client felt his family problems were minimal, his wife reported that the family was experiencing severe difficulties. The client was seen for 3 one-hour videotape sessions with a 3-day break between sessions. Pre- and post-tests using the 17-question PTSD military checklist were completed before treatment, at the beginning of the second treatment session, after the third session, and 30 days post-treatment. Checklist scores were about 90% pre-treatment. Now on the checklist, there's treatment scores from 0 to 4, where 0 is not at all and 4 is extremely. After the first treatment session, the scores were reduced to 30%. All symptoms disappeared after the third treatment. At 30 days post-treatment, the symptom scores were still 0 and no symptoms were reported by the client. After the second session, he reported no more nightmares and abatement of all symptoms by the end of treatment. To behaviourally evaluate the client's post-treatment improvement, after the last session, he was driven to a crowded, noisy McDonald's restaurant and ate with his back to the door. He reported having no anxiety with someone else driving him, and he was able to eat without being concerned for the exits. A video record of the excursion validates his visible physiological responses and demeanour. He and his wife were interviewed together at the last session and in a 1-month follow-up. At the 1-month follow-up, he reported being able to allow his wife to drive and experience no anxiety while driving near large trucks. He also reported being anxiety-free while in crowded places. For independent verification, the client's family was asked to substantiate his recovery. His wife reported in a 3-month post-treatment clinical interview that her husband no longer checked the locks more than once, was able to let her drive, and no longer demonstrated the high anxiety and anger at home that he had before treatment. In her words, "I feel like my husband is back like he was before he left for Iraq." Sorry about the American accent. Wow, powerful stuff indeed. And that's what NLP can do for you. Thank you very much for listening, and please subscribe to the blog.